email address is contact.
Contact.owenmccarthy@gmail.com.
That's the one.
Cool. Link is pasted. All right, that is sent.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Let's see how this goes.
All right. So you're live right now.
I should be. Can you see me if you click on the link?
Oh, yeah. Got the link. I'm just gonna. Yep, that looks good.
Question is the audio working? I'm seeing the little green dots at the bottom, so I think theoretically it should be.
I can hear you.
Awesome.
I can hear. Great. Okay. Now we just have to get people back on. I'm just going to edit your page today.
Cool.
The link's been updated.
Yeah.
Do you know who was watching before?
I know Dan was, and a couple of friends from overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Cockrell was one of the people who was watching.
Okay. I mean, if you message anybody that you know,
yeah, I've just chucked it as like my Facebook status. Hopefully, awesome. Things will sort themselves out.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Okay, thanks, Owen.
Bye. No worries.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Hopefully people are going to start the tower is not even there. Hopefully people are going to start being able to see me again, which is nice. I'm currently just spamming my new link in places, so the people who were watching can see what's happening. So hopefully people will start coming back, which would be nice. So for those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Amy. Welcome to my dining room, which is the workshop of Storm and the Teacup props, which is me. So as you can see, I'm wearing a fabulous tiara. When lockdown started, I started this thing that I was calling Tiara Tuesdays. Today is a Tuesday, so therefore I must wear a tiara. Just to get people smiling, I guess. So what I want to work on talking to you guys today is I'm doing my IRP, my independent research project for Set and Props 2. And my independent research project is I am making this guy. Oh, mirrored. Interesting. I'm making a puppet of what is known in the Netherlands as a kabouter, a Dutch gnome. So this book, this is the, I don't even know, anniversary version, deluxe collector's edition. My sister, who's from the Netherlands, Anya, if you're watching, hi. She introduced me to this book, and it's beautiful. It's such an amazing book, illustrations galore. And so when I just was figuring out what I wanted to work on for my independent research project, I thought of making a puppet. And for my puppet, I decided that I'm going to make this guy, this kabouter, this gnome, because this book is essentially a scientific descriptor of the lives and times of the Dutch kabouters. So what I'm working on today is, also the type of puppet it's going to be is a similar in style to Yoda. So it'll be a head mechanism. Theoretically, it'll have it'll talk and it'll have eye movement. Maybe it'll blink, depending on time restraints that I have. So I made this guy. So this guy is made from Sculpey, which is a oven bake clay material. So when you're working with it, it's kind of looks like you're squishing flesh, which is fun but also gross. Apparently I've got a bead stuck in this piece from when I was making this guy. So this stuff is super malleable. It's reworkable. The stuff that I'm just squishing here, I've had for, oh gosh, almost 2 years, and it's still usable. And then you bake him. So this guy looks baked. He was baked in the oven at 125 degrees Celsius, which is I don't even know Fahrenheit. Somewhere around 250 Fahrenheit for those of you who are in America and tuning in, because I know that I have some friends overseas who wanted to check in what I was working on. Yeah. Joanne, if you're watching, could you flick a message through to Kate Mulhauser and let her know that the link changed? That would be super useful. So what I'm working, how I've worked with this guy is, you can see a little bit in here. So what I do is I build up a tinfoil base and then build on the, you're welcome, Dale or Dana, whichever one of you that is, work up on the base from this. So this is a large ball of tinfoil that was, here's one I prepared earlier. So what I did with this is it's literally just a ball of tinfoil with some masking tape on it to hold a couple of different layers of tinfoil on. It looks a bit creepy, but the basis of this is, so I went from this book, and there is a page in here that is all about the skeletal structure of the gnome. So based on the skull, I built up a working base. And so what I'm going to work on today, and at least this morning, I might work on something different this afternoon. I might come back to this. I'm not entirely sure. Is I'm going to be building up layers to make a bigger version of this guy. So that primarily involves a lot of working Sculpey. I might need to actually open the new packet because this stuff is older and has been worked a bit. Also, it's not super warm, which doesn't help when you're trying to work modeling clay. If any of you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, chuck them in the chat here, or I guess send me a Facebook message if we're Facebook friends. I will open that up so I can see what's going on in there. Oh, we've got mentionings. That's interesting. And yeah, so I'm just gonna sort out where my camera's pointing since I had some camera issues. Hi, Harry. See, Monique's just said that you say hi, so hi. And yeah, I'm gonna work on building up this skull. The style and the way of doing it is actually based on something I read in a fiction book once. It's a book series. I think the protagonist is Eve Duncan, and it's like murder mysteries, little bit of romance kind of thing. But one of the main characters was a forensic sculptor. And so what she did was she would have skulls from people who had been murdered or from archaeological dig sites, and she would build up on the skull based on she had like all of these like super precise you guys can't even see what I'm doing, this is ridiculous. These super precise measuring sticks. Oh gosh. Super precise measuring sticks that would have depth analysis for muscle density and skin and things like that. So what I am essentially doing is I am building up layers of skin for the gnome. Yeah. I don't really know what to say beyond that. Steph, cute. Oh, there's Steph. Looks like Steph's glasses. Yeah. So I'm just working some Sculpey, and I really should have worked it before this. Technical issues negated the actual work stuff happening, which is, you know, a little frustrating. Yeah, so I'm just gonna work on some stuff. Normally I would work with music, but YouTube, yeah, it's super sculpy when it gets that. It's a polymer based clay that is yeah, oven bakeable. It continues to be workable. Hey Phil. And yeah, bake in the oven at 125/250. And the other really cool thing about Sculpey is that you can bake it and then add more layers and then rebake it. So like this guy, stick him over here. Yeah, so this is the skull base fill. It's hopefully gonna be big enough. And so I'm just working on the oh gosh, which page do I want open on this? This one here. That one's probably more helpful. There you go. You guys can see what I'm working on. So I'm working towards this guy. Actually. That's a good page. I'll be way more organized on this by this afternoon, guys. is there's a page that's like both the male and female, like a full image of them, but I'm not. Here we go. So this is the guy that I'm working towards. Yeah, so actual height without cap is 15 centimeters, but I don't sculpt that small, and I want it to be hand and rod puppet, which means that I need to do it a lot bigger than that. Potentially about to get video bombed by my cat. The perils of your workshop being your dining table. Hey kitty, the way that I have shaped the nose and the mouth on this guy is I put the eyes in this one are some beads. And so in this one, I'm going to, hi Kate, I'm going to add these eyes that are going to sit into this section here where the eyeballs are. So the eyeball bits, I pushed in really, really hard on the foil to make it be squished in on those eye bits. And then the mouth, I'm going to cut a slice into where the mouth goes when I get to having sculpted that bit, so that I can move the tinfoil around and the Sculpey that I'm putting onto it, so that I can make him so that he has an open mouth and move his chin around, and then I can build on his nose and his ears. So his nose and his ears on this one are completely Sculpey. They don't have any tinfoil base in them because they don't really need it. It's a lot easier to just sculpt that straight from the material. Painting the skin. So I'm not needing to paint the skin on this one. What I'm going to do is this is going to be a base for a mold. So this is just my beginning sculpt. I'm going to take a cast from this, and then I make a mold from this, sorry, and then I'm going to cast it in probably silicon. Thanks, Harriet. Cast it probably in silicon, so that it will be movable, but it'll just be like a silicon skin. And then I will be able to bulk out the inside of that, probably with some foam, and be able to put mechanics inside it for my hand to fit in it, to be able to shift the eyes around. Given the time, we'll see how we go. But ideally, I want him to be able to have a opening and closing mouth, and moving eyes, and I would love to be able to make the eyes blink. Because the thing that I am really interested in with this project is how to get a creature to come alive from looking like this to feeling like you're talking to this guy. One of my all-time heroes is Jim Henson, who is the creator of the Muppets, and the Muppet Workshop is also the people who made Yoda and made a lot of the puppets that people are very familiar with, including Sesame Street and things like that. So they have a very particular style that people associate with Jim Henson's workshop, as well as the creatures from Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. The silicon will allow for that movement. So the eyelids, are a further down the road question, because the blinking will be only if I have time. So I will originally make him with static eyelids that are in the silicon. And then if I have the time and the ability to do it, I will just be able to get a scalpel and cut those eyelids out and put a mechanism in based on the ability to have that movement. So that will be, I'll remove the silicon eyelids that'll be built in as part of the sculpt. So they'll be open eyes unless I have the time to be able to build closing ones. Yeah. Yeah, so far he's got a piece of face, kind of. These eyes, they might look like they're like stupid, ridiculously huge in his head right now. But the thing is that when you're looking at somebody's eyes, you're only seeing a little piece of their eye. A lot of it is actually hidden behind your eye socket. So your eye socket goes down a lot further than your upper, goes around a lot further than your upper and lower lids. So when I am building this guy in, he's going to have, this is going to look real creepy, guys. He's going to have, his eye will be like this. Apologies if that gives anybody nightmares. But so that's it's gonna have a lot more of a surround. So for example, the eyes that are in this guy are actually one of these little clear beads, but they look a whole lot bigger than the eyes that are visible in him at the moment. So that's one of the things that you kind of have to take into account when you're looking at the facial structure of a creature, is the spacing and the sizing of different aspects of the creature. Yeah. Tara thinks my lipstick is Colourpop. It's Lemon Drop. Steph, yes, it's the same one as I was wearing yesterday. It matched my t-shirt, so yeah. A friend of mine is doing a video, not a video, gosh, is doing a it's like a recommendation of the day. Like, she asks people to post a picture of something that makes you happy based on a theme. And so it's, pink or stars or random things. And the thing for today was squares. So I thought, what was more appropriate than a labyrinth t-shirt? Also appropriate for doing a sculpt based on the idea of Jim Henson creatures. Kate, yeah, I was thinking about doing something like a skull on the inside, based on probably needing something to anchor the mechanisms on the inside too. Thinking either going thermoplastic or some like super solid paper mache style. Thanks, Dale. I love my shirt too. So yeah, that's one of the things that I was gonna have a chat with you at some point about, because it's one of those. Oh yeah, I should probably ask Kate. Those of you who don't know, my friend Kate is watching. She is also my mentor for this project. She is an amazing human being, and you should check out her stuff. Her user is Life is Props, and you can check her out on Facebook and on Instagram. She has done some amazing work and worked with some really cool people. If any of you have ever watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, a couple of years ago, she did the beautiful sculpt of Olaf from Frozen. This ginormous balloon, super cool. Also, Kate is just a really cool person, and does some really awesome cosplay. So you should totally check her out. Oh, okay. Actually, she doesn't have a Facebook work page, but she does have an Instagram work page. So you should check out her Instagram or her website, because she has a website of cool stuff that she has worked on. Yeah. So while I'm just like working small pieces onto this, I'm just smoothing all the edges into each other. I'll come back and do a proper smoothing over and start like building up more to get more of the facial structures. But this is just a solid base layer. And yeah, if you guys check in later today, I've got another stream that's going to go live at I think 3 o'clock this afternoon, New Zealand time. Tools other than my hands. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of different tools. Very similar to what anybody would use for cake decorating. So I've got some metal-ended, little pointy, scrapey ones, different shapes of those for doing different textures. I've got some wooden ones, similar effect. And I've also got these ones which are really cool. They've got silicone ends that are really great for smoothing. They have different shapes and ends on them to be able to create some different effects. I have more of these silicone ones. I don't know where the rest of them have disappeared to. Oh, there's one. So they've all got different ends on them for getting different effects. Yes, Joanne, if you are still awake at 11 p.m. Eastern US time, you should totally check in. One of the other ways of getting texture is using like brushes, scraping across the surface, yeah, basically anything that a kid would use for squishing Play-Doh or making patterns in Play-Doh. similar kind of idea. You can push and squish it out of the way. I've used a big traditional like fresh pasta maker for making sheets of Sculpey, or things like that. Yeah, dental tools are also really great. I don't actually have any of those at the moment. They're on my list of things I wish I had. But student means, yeah, don't have a lot of supplies and things, which is sometimes frustrating, but it also means that you get pretty creative with what you can come up with. Things like, oh gosh. So this is really great. It's a rolling pin for doing icing. But so these silicone rings that are on the ends of it are great because they control the thickness of what you're rolling. So these smaller ones will give you just that small amount of thickness, or you can have the bigger ones on, which are thicker rings, which means that the thickness of your clay is even thicker. You can also use things like cookie cutters, or basically anything can be a sculpting tool, which is great because you're not restricted by, you can only use stuff that is designed for the material. You can use whatever you want. Also to the couple of friends I know who are over in the States, which includes Kate, welcome to the New Zealand accent in a prolonged period of time. Specifically a Southland accent, which means I roll my R's. Yes, Joanne, he will have a body. His body is going to be primarily padding, because it's not going to be needed to move as much. Similar to Yoda, his hands will be controlled by rods. Sorry, the charge is just falling out of my tablet, which means that things want to go flat, which is not super useful. There we go. So his body will be mostly padding, with a little bit of like bone structuring in underneath it, just so that he has some kind of being able to hold himself up. His legs won't have any controlling on them. I guess at a later date I would be able to add things like rods or whatever to his legs. But the main purpose of this puppet is that he is able to be controlled by a single puppeteer. So the way that would traditionally be done with a hand and rod puppet is that you would have one hand that controls the head and the other hand holding the two sticks, and you manipulate them, which I need a lot of practice at by the end of this. You'd be able to manipulate them or sit one hand so that it's, holding something, or just like place it and then you control just one hand, which makes for a more lifelike thing. You want to focus on getting one part of it really good rather than, like 5 parts kind of mediocre. He might end up, holding like a book or a basket or something like that, that will help him have a sense of purpose with that hand that isn't being used. Yeah. One of the things that we have to think of with our IRP, our independent research projects for set and props, is how they will be presented. And so I've got a couple of ideas floating around about the environment that I will present him in at Manifest, which is our end of year set and props and design exhibition, which is, I want to say end of October, although it might be the beginning of November. And so, yeah, I've got a couple of ideas floating around about how I will present him, what ways I will be able to show the lifelike abilities of him, whether that's going to be having somebody perform him on occasion at the exhibition, or just having a video of that. Yeah, things like that. So these little pieces of Sculpey that I have here are pieces that are pre-worked and rolled flat into what I used as skin thickness on this guy, on this wee maquette. It's kind of a proof of concept to show, this is, I have sculpting ability, and I can definitely do this project. Yeah, so he was done over a couple of afternoons, evenings, in summer break. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on. Had a little bit of input from my friend Laura, who works in animation, and getting feedback on how I had it already, to make him more of a human. Not including his hat. How tall am I hoping he will be?